At the end of the day, you can make money, but you could just be so lonely having all this money. What is that? What does that do? I don't want that. I want to balance. This is why we look at our business, go, okay, we got to sell 20 to 30 homes every year between us. We could do way more, but then it takes so much time away from family, from volunteering, from work, just being around other people. I just want to balance life. Life is not all about work. Welcome to Love, Listings, and Legacy, where love, community, and building a lasting impact meet. We are Mony and Sophaline, a husband and wife real estate team, sharing our perspectives on life, real estate, and philanthropy, our stories about resilience and service. Join us each week as we share our journey of life, business, and giving back, all while building a legacy for our family and community. This is Love, Listings, and Legacy, where hearts, homes, and philanthropy come together. Let's get started.
All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Love, Listings, and Legacy with Sophaline and
Mony Nup.
Hi. So we hope you all enjoyed our first series of episodes that Mony and I had so much fun creating. And today we thought we would focus on a topic that is near and dear to our hearts, dividing and conquering. And hopefully we could share with all of you who are doing business with loved ones, such as a spouse, family members, or a best friend, and how to create that partnership and not drive each other crazy. Right, honey?
It does happen once in a while, yeah. More often than not, but yeah, so it does happen.
Great. So in this episode, Mony and I are hoping to just have a really candid and real conversation about how we balance marriage, business, and family life while running a business, serving on nonprofit boards, and also making time for our families. So, you ready to get going?
Let's do it.
All right. So, in terms of reflecting on balance, I think I'm going to give this question to my husband and maybe get his thoughts on how do you balance love and business without losing your mind?
To me, it's about looking at what's important to you, right? Really take a look at what's really, really important to you every day. So really, when you think about it, it's your work life, and professional life, right? And your volunteer life and your family. A lot of times I just look at the calendar, just kind of follow your lead a little bit of what needs to be done. But for me, when it comes times to come into work, it's about getting work done, sitting here, whether I have to work until sometimes, 5 to 7, getting here at 8 o'clock, work until 5 to 7, 10 or 11 hours, whatever I need to get done, I'm going to get it done. But realizing that if some other things comes up along the way during the day or some other things that comes up, it just happens, right? Life happens. You just have to modify and adjust as necessary and you gotta do it. But then again, you gotta make sure that it's important that, business happen. You gotta pay the bills, right? It's important that you have, family events, whether it's, and again, when I'm talking about events, I'm talking about as simple as a dinner together, as simple as a coffee together, as simple as, going out to dinner or just grabbing breakfast or something together. So those things need to continue to happen because as humans, we don't see each other. We just don't think of each other. So the more often time you do it together, the better. But making sure that knowing that you got to pay the bills, your love is to give back to the community. So make sure you make time for that. And then the family. So those are like my top 3 things every day in all that I do. So this way, everything else comes really second. It's not that important to me because it doesn't really impact me. At the end of the day, I just got to make sure those things are done. Then the priority's straight, and then you could do everything else.
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with what Mony shared. And I think just from my perspective, obviously for Mony and I, we've been married for 3 years now and trying to balance family as well as community as well as our business. It can be challenging at times, but I think one of the things that we've learned to navigate is just really also communicating with each other our expectations. And I think also really openly sharing our values. And Mony knows very clearly what I value, and I know what he values. Therefore, I can understand like, hey, today this is a priority, or versus like this day, this is a priority. So that's really different for us. And so maybe, honey, you could share with the audience, in terms of maybe, our audience members who are working with maybe their spouses or perhaps thinking about it, right? Because that's always something that like you contemplate, but you're like, I don't know, is that really a good idea? So maybe Mony can also share like why defining roles is really crucial at the beginning when you start to look into doing business together.
Well, I don't think it's so clearly defined when you first start. You just have to try it out first, and then through trials and tribulations, and then maybe a couple crying sessions.
Yes,
it's true.
Lots of crying sessions.
because sometimes you just it's hard to be honest, but you also have to be honest with your partner about the business and responsibilities, right? But sometimes just try it out, some trials and tribulations, and then you could finally figure out what works and doesn't work. But if you just go, if you're going to start by saying this is how it's going to be, that's not how life works.
Right.
That's not how a relationship works. So really, at the end of the day, it's trying it out, figure out what works, what doesn't work, what you like, what you don't like, what rubs each other the wrong way, or what pissed each other off, or what annoy the hell out of the other person. Figure out what those things are and stay away from those if you can. It's not always avoidable, but you got to have tough conversation and professional conversation.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, a loving conversation that allow you to move forward and speak your mind and share and define the role even better and better and better. I think that's what happened to us. There's definitely some pissed off sessions and crying sessions that we have to work through, but at the end of the day, we still love each other, and that's what we have now.
Absolutely. And I think just to add to that as well, I think also it's important to identify each other's strengths and weaknesses. And so Mony and I, again, I think he mentioned it, and he was spot on about like at the beginning, it's always going to be kind of like very vague and you're not going to really truly understand. But I feel that after, the trials and tribulations and stuff like that, like you should be able to identify each other's strengths. So for example, for Mony, we identify where his key strengths are, his key competencies, where he's really strong, where he can really, just provide that like thing that only Mony can provide. And so we found a way to work smarter, not harder together. And then Mony and I have also found like, okay, what are some things that, I come with strengths. And so what you do is you look at your strengths. It's just like the SWOT analysis, right? You look at your strengths and weaknesses together, obstacles and threats and things like that to make sure that you are working diligently together. And then also one of the things that Mony and I started doing and that I realized, honey, just on my recent conference away is like talking about like delegation and the importance of like sometimes being able to know and feel safe that you go to your partner and you say, honey, I'm just really overwhelmed. What can I take off my plate? What can I delegate? What can I outsource? What can I hire out? And so one of the things that, I realized was that I think for myself, first and foremost is that I am Mony's wife. I've always told my husband, I said, our number one priority is our marriage. Business, it's great, but it's second to our marriage because I can't find another husband as Mony. I can always find another job. And so
you can, but you don't want to train another person.
Yeah, I don't want to have to train another husband. And so I always told him, I said, you are my first husband and you're my last husband. So, identifying your priorities, I think, and also looking at like what are the things that are not bringing value to you, your mental health, your wellness, or your business, and things you can outsource. So for example, honey, thank you. Mony was like, why don't we just hire out, the house cleaning? I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. Because that was something that, for number one, I'm going to openly share with all of you and right here in front of my husband is that for me, the home is very important to me. It's a place where we create memories together, with our family, our loved ones, our friends, our community. And so for me, the house is something that I really enjoy taking care of. And taking care of means making sure that when people come over, there's food, there's love, there's comfort, cleanliness. Oftentimes we get so bogged down. And so one of the things Mony said, honey, why don't we just like outsource the cleaning? And honey, I just want to say that was so brilliant. I mean, of all the things that Mony said, I'm like, oh my God, yes. And so I just want to acknowledge, you for supporting me on that. And that, it's not that I don't enjoy cleaning or that I can't do it. I can. However, in this season of our life where Mony and I are at is that, it makes more sense for me to outsource the cleaning to a company, a professional company that will come in, take care of it, and then I can focus my energy on other things like our real estate business, serving our clients, serving the community, and being on these nonprofit boards. And then also, guys, this podcast, this podcast doesn't happen automatically. So I just wanted to acknowledge my husband openly and publicly.
Well, thank you. But all I can remember of all the things she said was brilliant. So that's all I remember.
Well,
but real quick, there's actually a couple other things that I want to bring. One more point to the conversation. Before I think, the old Mony would have just kind of, I think, kept score, meaning that, hey, I've done 1, 2, 3, and 4. You should be doing 1, 2, 3, 4 too. But it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to keep score with your significant other or your loved ones, because really at the end of the day, what needs to be done on every front, and you just divide and conquer what you need to get done. For example, today I've gone through several of homes that need to be listed. Literally we're listing a home once a week right now. Thank God and blessing, and thank you for your support for that. But while she's at home taking care of, dropping out dry cleaning for me, and then making sure you work with the cleaners to see what needs to be cleaned in the house, what process, what it look like, carpet cleaning to cleaning the sofa and steaming, all those things, right? All those things need to be done. But if I kept scores like, oh, she didn't really work, but really at the end of the day, it's the hours you still have to put in no matter what it is. It's all these things need to be done, whether it's home front or business front, you have to manage it all. So don't keep score, but if you're going to keep score work for work, you're going to run into issues. You just don't do that. So, and in fact, if I look at my schedule today, it's been so crazy. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it's been so crazy. I haven't eaten today. I mean, other than a cup of coffee and drinking water to keep myself hydrated. But I've just been going and going and going. In fact, after this, I'm leaving to another appointment at 5 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So it's in another city. So I just have to do what I have to do, but know that you can't keep score, but divide and conquer when you can, and just got to get those things done. But it doesn't matter like who's doing it. You can't do that. If you just keep doing that, you're going to get in a big fight, and it's not worth it.
Absolutely. And no, Mony's spot on about that. So one of the things that we've also implemented, I think that's great, is just understanding that communication is the game changer, and that communication is so critical in working together as a family. And so one of the things that I appreciate is that we have check-ins and, discussing, hey, what can we do better? And also just understanding that we have different strengths, and then therefore, when we divide and conquer, we actually accomplish more. And that we don't need to be redundant with like a lot of the tasks. And so I feel like in the past, honey, is that, we've often gone to a lot of appointments together just because we all want to be aligned. And I think, quite honestly, because I was so new in the real estate industry, that I wanted to shadow Mony. I wanted to learn every single step of the process with him. And I think after about a year now, I feel like, okay, I got this, right? So when you take the training wheels off now, I'm confident to know, like, when Mony goes to an inspection, what happens. I don't need to physically be there, but what I need to do is I need to do my homework. And once the inspection reports are completed, I need to sit down and go through it and read through it and not miss anything. So I think one of the things that for me, it's also checking in with him and being able to tell him, like, hey, this is what we did great. This is what we could have done better. And this is what didn't go so well. So one of the things that, I wanted maybe Mony to speak on is just kind of like, the importance of like also trusting in each other. Honey, maybe you could talk about kind of like making decisions for our family, where it's like sometimes you make the executive decisions with business, and then sometimes I make the executive decisions with like family stuff. So, any thoughts and feelings like that you want to share with our audience?
The first thing that comes to mind is that, I've been doing the real estate business now for 18 years, sold over 400 homes. So I've got a lot of experience doing it. I know what needs to take, and I know all the vendors. I know, I'm on the phone all day long, just maneuvering whatever needs to get done, needs to get done, right? So understanding that, And sometimes you have to pay a little bit more to buy a little bit more time to get things done. And then, just know that the trust is there. At the end of the day, are we going to really make enough business to pay our bills? So just know that it's in the right place, that there's no waste. I'm not the one that goes out and buy all kinds of things anyway, so it's rare. So, my suits are my suits, my clothes are my clothes, but it's so simple. Really, I have like 5 sweaters, 4 pairs of jeans, maybe a couple boots at the house, and 3 tennis shoes. I mean, I don't have a lot, just really keep it simple. I just keep changing it, just the different colors just to make it look good. But outside of that, I'm pretty simple, right? But know that there are things that I'm not good at. For example, I think you're so much better with the family. You could set the time, the dinner. I just have to show up sometimes. But if you make it easy, say, hey, honey, show up at this particular time. Just don't, I guess my point is that don't let me read your mind, or let me just communicate. The more you communicate, the better for me. So this way I know what time things happen, and I can maneuver things and change things just to accommodate and make it work for everybody. Because at the end of the day, I too, I just love my work. I do really, really love my work. And I do it well, but sometimes I just do it well enough where I'm spending 12 hours. But is it necessarily? But if the dinner's on the table, if there's dinner time and the boys are coming over or family's coming over, I don't mind making an adjustment to make that happen, because I want to be there too. Because at the end of the day, you can make money, but you could just be so lonely having all this money. What is that? What does that do? I don't want that. I want to balance. This is why we look at our business, go, okay, we got to sell 20 to 30 homes every year between us. We could do way more, but then it takes so much time away from family, from volunteering, from work, just being around other people. I just want to balance life. Life is not all about work. So that's really, really important.
No, I love what you said. And that actually reminds me of the importance of setting boundaries so that the family is sacred. Family time is sacred. You can always make more money. You can always find another job, career. You can always build a business, but you will not get back the time that you have with family, or that you don't have. And so I think that's one of the things that for me, I truly value, is that time with family. It's sacred. That's why Mony and I have to be so disciplined with, I feel like, some tactical things, or like calendar management, right? Everything's on the calendar. And Mony can attest to that, like picking up our grandson, dinner with Andrew and Ryan and Sabrina, going here, going there. We literally, right, honey? I mean,
everything's
on the calendar.
Yeah, it doesn't show up on my calendar, I just won't show up.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And so what we do, I think this is some great advice. I think for many of you who are considering this, just your calendar needs to be so pivotal in everything that you do. If you say you value your family time, if you say you really want to be successful in business, you need to be disciplined, and you need to set boundaries. And those boundaries means if it's time to call it a night, and because you got to wake up the next morning early, then you have to do it. And I think Mony and I feel like we do a great job of that. And I think that's the key in balancing our business as well as our family time.
And then part of the organization of family time is also, making sure you share your calendar, so this way you can see each other's schedule. We know, we have our phone app where we know where each other's at. I don't have anything to hide, so my wife could check my phone. She has all my code. I just, I don't have a time for drama. I just love my life the way it is, because it's very intentional. Living a purposeful, intentional life is the way to go. And then for me, there's always something to do, people to talk to, events I'm involved in. I'm coordinating so many different things, but I love it because it keeps me busy, keeps me grounded, keeps my mind going all the time. Sometimes it's kind of drive me crazy because I have so many things, but I segment everything in my mind from transaction to the things I have to do, what needs to get done. I could recall all those the details in my head, what needs to be done, and sometimes it drives me crazy. But to the point, you have to be really, really organized and share your calendar to make sure the left hand is talking to the right, meaning that the husband is talking to the wife is talking to the husband, and then the husband and the wife is talking to our assistant, making sure that we're on the same page. In fact, we have a board that has, for every transaction, we know exactly what needs to be done and what has been done, what has not been done, by crossing it off and color coding, all kinds of different things. So, but anyway, hopefully that's helped you as well.
No, great. Thank you for that. And also, I think the other point to, I think, reiterate what Mony kind of alluded to it earlier, is just learning to trust each other's decisions. And so for myself, I know my husband has our best intentions. His intentions are making sure that, our business is alive and thriving and well. And so for me, as his business partner and his wife, I need to also trust Mony's decisions when it comes to certain things. And so I think that's helped us to strengthen not only our marriage, but also our business. The other thing I wanted to also mention is the importance of self-care and knowing when to say no. And that's something that I have to say I'm still working on, because I'm naturally just a giver. I just want to give so much of myself, and learning how to set boundaries in a healthy way, saying no, and also sometimes saying no to Mony when it comes to certain events and things like that. And so now this time, because I want to make sure that I'm not overwhelmed, that I have time for me to do the things that I need to do. Now I'm much better about being very openly communicating with Mony, like, hey, is this something that, I could sit out on? Do you really need me to accompany you? Is this something that I could could you go and represent both of us? And so I think we've been doing a good job of that lately.
We're doing a better job of it. It's not a good job, but a better job. But
it's a lot better.
Yeah. For example, as of yesterday, it was a Super Bowl thing. It's she doesn't have to go, but I want her to be there because there's so many friends and whatnot that we want to be there and kind of hang out. So it's also a time. And for her, for example, she needs to go work out. I don't go to Orange Theory, but that's what she wants to do. Well, go with your friend. Like for me, I walk 6 to 8 miles on a Sunday, but I make that religious, right? For me, meaning that I make a commitment not only to my partner, but to my buddy, but to myself. For example, I got in from DC on a trip at, literally 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. By the time we went to bed, it was like 2:30 in the morning. But I have to get up at 7 o'clock to make my 7:30 walk. And I did it.
Yeah,
because it's important. It's important to my health. I just have to make it happen, even though I'm not working out every day. But this is my only workout. So therefore, it's so important to me that I make that happen. And I have other appointments throughout the day that happens as a result, and even though it's just getting back. But I'm committed to doing what I need to do. And I know sometimes it's hard for people, but you just have to go make that commitment. A commitment is something that you're going to do, not just you're willing to do. Oh, I'll wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow will always be here. But that's why whatever you have, you need to put a list of things to do. You got to put a date and time on it. Without date and time, tomorrow will always be here. This is something that is a must, and as a lesson to a lot of people, is that you got to put a date and time on it. Okay, if you're going to set a goal, put a date, a time on it. Otherwise, it's not going to get done. It's not going to get done. So,
no, that's great advice. Thank you for that. I think also, too, perhaps we can give a little encouragement for our listeners. Basically, I think just it can be challenging to keep, the romance alive. We're all running a business, and it's funny because we're recording this episode like the week of Valentine's Day. So maybe Mony can share kind of how about one, either a do or a don't for couples who work together that you think would be really valuable, if you had to sum it up.
I mean, really, it's at the end of the day, it's about communication, and you want to feel connected to your partner. You got to be able to communicate. You got to be able to share your vulnerabilities. What work, what doesn't work, and sometimes the ugly conversation got to happen as well. But do it in a nice, loving way. I'm learning how to do that a lot better. I have a lot of growth, a lot of learning, a lot of better to be better. So, but really, at the end of the day, it's about communicating, communication, and then telling each other what you're looking for, what you want to be. I mean, we've been married now 3 years, we've been together 4 years. For me, it doesn't have to be Valentine's Day for me to do something.
Aww,
It's just
good
about,
job, honey.
It's just about just going out. I mean, I still, I don't want to say sad, but when we were sleeping next to each other, I still love holding her hands. Like, I really love holding her hands. So that's a joy to me. That's just something that I've always thought of, just being able to hold her hands. It means a lot to me. So whenever we're at, where we're out in public, whatever, I just enjoy holding hands. That's something
Aw.
that I want to do. So she may not know that, but now she knows.
Oh, and now
But
the
to that
world knows.
point,
Thank you.
yeah, to that point, it's not, you don't have to wait until Valentine's Day to give a gift, whatever. It's the fact that you don't even have to have a gift. The gift is actually the gift of a love language to one another, to know that you are loved by the other person. It doesn't have to be any gift at all. It's just that love language, and then the security, the commitment you show to one another. That's love in itself. And that's for me. I don't really need anything. I don't have a need for anything at all. Just a need to have that someone that know that someone loves me so much that that I love that person too, and that's what it comes down to.
Oh, that's so sweet, honey. Well, thank you. I think also too the importance of like supporting each other. I think that's also really important as well, because you can get really bogged down in like the day to day, like, you know, oh, this didn't happen and that didn't happen. It's really easy to get frustrated with one another. So I think for me, what I would have to probably say is don't play the blame game. Don't blame each other. I think if anything, be curious. And so this is something that I've also shared with Mony, and I picked up from a podcast. It was basically like, you know, before you criticize, have curiosity. You know, naturally your partner, your spouse, your family member, they're not trying to disappoint you. They're not trying to upset you. They're not trying to make you all stressed out. There's something behind or why they're not meeting your expectations, right? And so before you criticize, be curious. Like say, hey, honey, you know, I noticed like, you know, fell behind this week. Like, how are you feeling? Is there something going on? Is there something I could do? Because my love language is actually acts of service. For me, I'm like, I don't want expensive gifts. I don't want extravagant gifts. For me, you show love by being considerate. You know, when you do nice things for people, because you're like, hey, you know what? You had a really busy week. Why don't I take this on and you go and like get a massage, or you go and get your nails done? You know, like little things like that, I think are really important. So support each other. And then I think celebrating wins together. And so Mony and I, you know, obviously, you know, we hold sacred a lot of celebrations like family birthdays and our wedding anniversary and things like that. So, you know, celebrate small wins together. So I think maybe, honey, that's something that we could probably do a better job of, like this 2025, is maybe celebrating small wins. You know, maybe it's like, hey, I said I was going to go to Orange Theory 3 times a week, and I did. Let's go like grab a frozen yogurt. Let's go do this. So, you know, I think that's also important. So, lots of other advice that we could share later as well.
And one more advice on that would be on the relationship side would be, you know, sometime for me, for example, I may come across as being short or just being too straightforward. But the question you have to ask is that, what was my intention? Is my intention coming from a good place, of a loving place, even though I may have said it in a short way or in an abrupt way or in a straightforward way? But I didn't mean it that way. So sometimes you just have to know that and not take it so darn personal. Because sometimes I am, because I'm very pragmatic and I'm a result-driven guy. I want to get things done. I like organization. I like clean cars. I like clean homes. I like clean garage. And literally, if it's up to me, you could eat off the floor of my garage, right? That's who I am. If you come to my backyard, you'll see how the trees are trimmed, how things are kept in place, because I like organization, because the messiness remind me of the chaos of my life when I was younger. I didn't like it. And those were hard times. But again, just reminding that, is it coming from a good place? And sometimes I just say it because that's who I am. Mm-hmm. But I didn't mean it from a bad way, but that's how sometimes it could be taken the wrong way. So I'm working on that myself.
Well, actually, I think that's a good point to bring up, is that each of us, all of us, comes with some sort of trauma from our childhood, from our past, and we carry that trauma on into our current relationship. And that's something that, you know, we've talked about it, honey, is that you need to be cognizant of. If you are bringing trauma from your childhood, from your past, and it's harming or hurting your current partner, you need to do something about it. So I think what Mony said, it's really absolutely key to understand what your partner values. So if your partner values organization, and they value order, they value certain things being at its place, with love, you have to understand that that's how that person copes with whatever it is that they've dealt with. And so it's not to say that, oh, my way is the right way, or, and that's something that Mony and I have openly discussed. And he can be very direct in his communication. And that's how Mony shows his love, But for me, I don't receive it that way. Sometimes each of us, we have a different communication style. And so it's important to be respectful, to not demean each other. And also the other thing that we talked about too is not to invalidate the other person's feelings. So if you say something that hurts someone's feelings, you can't say like, oh, well, you shouldn't feel that way because no, out of respect for your partner, you need to understand that that's what they feel and how they feel. And you should allow them to feel that way. And then you can have a conversation about it. And so I think, that's also really valuable, because that is a strong skill to have, especially with dealing not just with your partner, honey, but also with clients, right? I mean, we know in real estate, it's emotional. It is a very emotional business. Take away the contracts and take away the negotiations and the transactional things. Real estate is such an emotional business because you are dealing with, people's big life moments. And those life moments can be happy or they could be really, really traumatic and really just devastating. So, I feel like we've got a lot to share. And so hopefully we hope that this episode, kind of gives you some tidbits in terms of like dividing and conquering, and that you don't have to do everything together, because sometimes you have to be strong and be able to, kind of scale your time. While one person does this, the other person can do something else. So with that said, honey, any closing remarks?
Really, it's about making a commitment to your partner, to your wife, to your husband, and making a commitment to each other. Really, that's what it comes down to. And then trying to, there's a lot going on all the time, in whether it's our lives or yours, I'm sure. But it's always things going to come up, but trying to do it in the best loving way possible. I'm learning through that because I grew up with so much drama and trauma and brokenness, whatnot in my life. And I think, but I've gotten a lot better. I'm very, very, I've always been very secure to who I am, what I'm able to do, because of all the hardship I had to go through in my childhood and through my adolescent and all the way into my early adulthood. But nonetheless, there's a lot of things that I have to unchange and change. I have to change, actually, not unchange. I have to change for the better. And but I'm working on that. That's always something, a work in progress in me. So that's who I am. So in fact, I think hopefully you got the letter that I wrote to you. So I don't know if you got a chance to read it or not, but the letter I wrote from when I was going away last week, and I thought I'd share that with you, where I am, what my intentions are, and how I feel about how things are between us and all the things that we do.
Oh, thank you.
And I hopefully you got a chance to see that.
Great. Well, I hope that as you listen to our episode, just know that, everything is a work in progress, and definitely there are some great advantages to working with your spouse or your family members or your best friends, but just know that there are some strategies in order for you to be successful and still maintain a positive relationship. I think that's most important. So as Mony is wrapping up, I just want to say thank you for joining another episode of Love, Listings, and Legacy with us. And if you found this episode to be helpful, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And do share it with someone who needs to hear this. Any advice that Mony or I share, or any tidbits of knowledge, if you found it to be helpful, we hope you like and share with your loved ones. So thank you all so much. And Mony and I will be back with another episode of Love, Listings, and Legacy.
Thank you. And please like our page.
Thank you so much.
We truly appreciate it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining Love, Listings, and Legacy this week. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and Spotify to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. Join us next time as we continue to navigate the path from adversity to success, one property and one purpose-driven decision at a time. Thanks for listening.